Hello pilots! I'm sorry if I haven't been posting, but this computer right here has been crashing all the time. I had to replace a bunch of components to make it work. But now that it's working, we're back on schedule. This week's poll was all about the best grenadier in the game. The options were the Cold War, SMR, EPG, and the softball. And as expected, EPG was the most voted weapon. This makes sense as the EPG is the closest weapon from the grenadier class to even come closer to the high tier weapons. I did a short video on the EPG named EPG Takes Skill, right? Make sure to check it out. As a grenadier lover myself, I invite you all to this weapon briefing. Let's talk about the blue menace. Let's talk about the EPG. Titanfall 2 has a 5-stat system to rate a weapon. This is useful information to get an idea of how strong a weapon is. These are damage accuracy, range, fire rate, and max size. EPG belongs to the grenadier class of projectile-based weapons that prioritize damage over everything. Their biggest advantage is that they can damage both pilots and titans alike, and depending on the weapon, the damage is actually quite decent. EPG ranks first because it possesses the best stats and is well-rounded. We can see the EPG has 100% range and accuracy. This tells us this is a very accurate weapon, and our projectile will get to the target in a straight line, unless it hits something first. The fire rate is quite low, but you'll find out later that this is actually not as bad as it looks. Lastly, we have damage. EPG has a high damage number with 83 out of 100, but this is the tricky part. As previously mentioned, EPG belongs to the grenadier class. This class has high damage and a little mechanic called splash damage. As the name implies, these weapons shoot projectiles that will explode and damage any nearby enemy upon contact with any surface. So this creates a second way of playing with the grenadiers. One thing the game doesn't tell you is the travel distance. Because these weapons are projectile based, whatever you're shooting will take time to reach your target. This requires the need for you to predict where your enemy is going to be when the projectile reaches them. The longer the distance, the more it will take for you to hit your target, and more prediction will be needed. And since the grenadiers are not speedy demons, you'll be doing this all the time. This is part of the charm of these weapons actually, and this is what makes them so attractive. They're not straightforward like the hit-scan weapons, and sometimes require big brain times to outsmart the enemy. So as a grenadier player, you're given the option to play with your weapons in two ways. One is relying on the splash damage to kill enemies, by intentionally hitting the surface around them to deal damage. This usually takes multiple shots, but it does the job well. People hate this and call the EPG and its sister weapons skillless, meaning they don't require skill. Which is not true, because the fire rate is bad, and you'll have enough time to kill an EPG user after their first shot, with any hit-scan weapon. Players with good reaction can totally kill an EPG user if they miss the first projectile. And finally, the most well-respected and accepted way of playing the EPG: one-shotted enemies directly. Surprisingly, EPG does 100 damage on direct hit, just like Kraber. So actually aiming for the target to get direct hits takes much more precision and overall skill. This is my preferred way of playing the EPG, and you can get really good at it with enough practice. Players can't complain when you're using EPG if all it takes is a good placed shot to kill them. EPG is a fun weapon. It is the closest a non-hit scan weapon will get to the high tier weapons. Honestly, the fact that you can damage titans is a massive bonus for me. I rarely use my anti-titan weapon when I'm using the EPG. It's great for grunts and reapers, and one-shotted pilots is just a reward every time. Overall, EPG is well respected, but there will be always people that don't understand how weak grenadiers are, and resort to complain while using weapons like the car. Ironic, isn't it? I invite you all to revisit this weapon and its sisters, like the Cold War and softball. You'll have a lot of fun and torture yourself while doing it. The EPG gets B in viability, with a possible A in good hands. This weapon is crazy good on direct shots. A+ in fun factor. Once you get good with this weapon, you won't stop. It's so fun shooting people out of the air with the EPG. And A in drift factor. Everyone knows a good EPG player is to be respected, or else. Also A in karma. You'll be happy and have a prosperous life if you use this weapon. That's it for now, pilots. Remember to check out the streams, leave a like, share and subscribe. Are you an EPG user? What's your favorite grenadier? Mine is the Cold War. I can't get enough of that weapon. That weapon is so much fun.